Let's move on to our fifth and final main topic today. Chris, what is our fifth main topic today?
Final topic's coming from Darren Trent. Hey, John, I saw your tweet tonight about the MCU stuff perhaps being done. Your friend's comparison of the MCU after the departure of Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, and Spider-Man feeling like Saved by the Bell, the new class, was spot on. I liked the Comic-Con presentation, but nothing is generating buzz like previous MCU movies have. Has the MCU run its course at this point, or is the best yet to come? What do you think?
Well, okay, so let me give you some context here about where all this comes from. So yesterday, I got into a discussion with a friend of mine who's in our circles is known as our pessimist. he's our pessimist. And by the way, I got his permission to talk about this today. And we got into this discussion back and forth on text. And about whether or not, he heard me say on the show the other day that I think it's possible Black Widow could hit $1 billion. I said, I don't think it will, but it's possible that it could. It is an MCU film after all, blah, blah, blah. And, it started that with, then he wrote to me, it's like, this film is not getting anywhere near $1 billion. And it got into this discussion of me saying, don't underestimate the popularity of the MCU, and him getting into don't underestimate that people kind of feel like the book's been closed. Anyway, one of the messages he sent me, and I thought it was interesting, so I put it up on Twitter. This is the message he sent me that I put up on Twitter, all right? He said this: MCU buzz isn't the same anymore. Talking about with the conclusion of Endgame, with Endgame closing its chapter. With Captain America, Iron Man, Widow, Hawkeye, who still has the limited series, but then we know Jeremy Renner's out after that, Hawkeye, and Spider-Man gone, Endgame was the end. The rest of the upcoming MCU feels like Saved by the Bell, the new class, which you mentioned, you brought up yourself earlier. The upcoming MCU film feels like Saved by the Bell, the new class, with Miss Marvel, Shang-Chi, a lot of characters like that. Mm-hmm. Same interest just won't be there. Now, I thought that was an interesting thing he said, because the one thing that I did agree, even though we were arguing in a fun, friendly way, one of the things that he said that I did resonate with me is it's like, yeah, with all these big main key characters gone, it does sort of feel a little bit like, is the MCU now Saved by the Bell, the new class? It's all new people, but yeah, Screech is still there. Doctor Strange is still over there. Principal Belding?
Yeah.
Belding. Is that right?
Good job.
Principal Belding's over there. There's Thor over there. But like, Zach's gone, Captain America. Slater's gone, Iron Man. Widow's gone, Elizabeth Berkley. Like, all these main people that everybody loved. And now everybody's new little heart love favorite, Spider-Man. Now Spider-Man's gone. Disney blew that.
Yeah.
And so I just thought his analogy was kind of interesting, saying, now the MCU to me feels like Saved by the Bell, the new class. And and this came up too, after Comic-Con, there was a lot of excitement amongst a lot of people when they did the Marvel presentation. But what they pointed out, and I had to think about it, I thought, well, he's right. That buzz dissipated pretty quickly. Like, I remember when Kevin Feige in Hollywood came out and did the big presentation for Phase 3. That made the internet explode, and it never stopped. The excitement, chatter, and buzz about almost each and every one of those upcoming films was nonstop for the rest of the next 4 years. It just didn't stop. The Comic-Con one kind of did, and I think, Endgame, in its amazing success, may have, as a part of its world-dominating success, maybe did its job too well. Maybe made it actually feel like the end of the line. It made it feel like the MCU is now done. The one thing I had to agree with him on was this. I don't feel the same buzz now for the MCU as a whole as I did a year ago, as I did 2 years ago. I don't hear people jumping up. Now, I'm excited for Shang-Chi. Robert Meyer Burnett is super excited for Shang-Chi. I don't hear a lot of people online talking about it. I'm not feeling a lot of buzz for the Black Widow movie. Now, granted, it's still a little ways out. We've got more marketing to come. Let's see how that. I still believe it can be $1 billion film. I don't think it will be, but I think it's got that potential. But I can't deny that I'm not feeling that buzz anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if the era of the MCU movie is done. Not that the MCU is done. Make no mistake. I think, and even my friend conceded, look, these movies will all be successful. They're all going to be successful. But that thing that we hit where the MCU movies were practically hitting $1 billion each Because that's what the MCU is just about averaging. They're almost averaging $1 billion per film. Wrap your heads around that. But he kind of believed that era is now behind us. And it's like we're going back to square one. They're going to have to rebuild the buzz now. They're going to have to reestablish themselves. They've lost their most popular kids in school. The most popular, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, they're all gone now. They've got to rebuild. And then maybe we'll get into another MCU era in a couple of years. But his argument is there. Now, I put this up on Twitter yesterday. And as I sometimes do, I expected a huge negative reaction to that. Like everybody saying, your friend's crazy, blah, 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 blah. But what I was shocked to see were responses that were kind of sympathetic to what my buddy was saying. Responses like, I left Endgame feeling that way. It was very satisfying conclusion to a 10-year journey. Almost feels like the MCU is back at phase one and they have to rebuild again. To be honest, it's up to Marvel to keep people's interest up. Like, yeah, no duh, but with the Spidey news and most MCU projects not coming till mid next year, it seems kind of hard to keep that level of excitement. He has a point. I'm already less interested in the movies coming up outside of Blade and Black Panther, and you see they have to invoke the name of Iron Man for the Black Widow movie. Yeah, well, I mean, they did that for Spider-Man as well, to be honest. Eric writes, I agree. I just don't see it being an issue. I mean, so that's true too. And then Epfens writes, it seems to me like they're expanding the universe into new territory. They literally just gave us the biggest film of all time. Plus, come on now, these MFs just got X-Men, Fantastic Four, Galactus, Silver Surfer, etc. It's about to get bigger. Kind of agree. I think they'll figure out to make it interesting, but this is exactly why Robert Downey Jr. and Evans will be back at some point. It's just a matter of time. They're letting things cool off for a while. Let the fans start to miss them just soon enough to boom. Now, look, there are also a bunch of things in here, Chris, messages from people that are saying, no, your buddy's crazy, your buddy's crazy. I was just shocked to see like a whole bunch of people going, yeah. Like it just felt like Endgame finished it off and it's closed off. Spider-Man Far From Home was then like the epilogue to that. And everybody would see what happens now. What's the after effect now of Endgame? And now where are they going? Look, I think it would be a fool's errand to underestimate Kevin Feige at this point. You just don't underestimate Kevin Feige and what he's going to be able to do. But everybody hits a wall at some point, right? So I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to stand by it.
You? What?
Me? What? Is this? I think I might agree that the era of the MCU that we have been in now for the past 10 years, I think that era is over. I do. I think with the tremendous success of Endgame, I think the statement that Endgame maybe did its job too well to really feel like it's done now. Where do you go from here? You just battled the Titan with the ability to wipe out the universe with a snap of his fingers. Yeah. Where do you go from here? And oh, by the way, the most popular kids in school are now gone. Captain America's gone. Iron Man's gone. Spider-Man's even gone. But while saying that I think that era of the MCU is over, because I agree, I'm not feeling the same buzz that we have in years past. Even in years past, as we were in the middle of a number of months until the next MCU movie, you still felt that excited buzz for whatever the next one is. I'm not feeling that right now. But while I believe that it might be true to say that we are at the end of the era of the MCU, I'll also say that I think it's true that we could very well potentially be at the starting point of a new one. We might be. We might not be. But I think there's potential there because, again, I think you'd have to be foolish to underestimate Kevin Feige. Yeah. You got to be foolish to underestimate him. I think he can pull this off. But in sports terminology, which I like to do every once in a while, a team has to rebuild. A team, they had like 3 championships in a row, but now all the contracts have expired. The stars are leaving, blah, blah, blah. They have to go into a period of rebuilding. And then sometimes they rebuild a new championship team. Sometimes they rebuild and they end up being a middle of the road team. What will the MCU be going forward? We don't know. I'll always put my money on Kevin Feige. Absolutely. But I do feel in sports terminology, they are in a rebuilding year right now. They're kind of bringing things back together. They're going into a thing with Black Widow. You know, we saw what happened with Solo when they had a big movie with a beloved character that died and then followed that up with a prequel thing about that character. Didn't work out so great. Yeah. So I don't know that that's going to be the case with Black Widow, but at least you still got the original star coming back to play her.
Exactly.
But I don't know. You're hearing all of this, Chris. What's your response to that?
I mean, it does feel like Marvel kind of had a fire sale. Everything must go. But I am a Marvel true believer, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes, we will be fine. I'm a big comic book person, so I'm excited about these other characters. I'm excited about Shang-Chi. I really want to see what all is going to happen from here. I understand that we're going to have to take the time to reintroduce a whole bunch of people, though. And that does take time, and that means that we might have some movies that are a little slow, or things that don't resonate as well with audiences. We could have another Thor 2 situation with some characters popping up as we try to establish them. One of my best friends in the entire world, Kendall Story, does not read comics, does not know about superheroes or anything, but graciously humors me while I go off on my little nerdy rants and watches all my stuff. Thanks, Ken. But she went and saw Endgame, and when I caught up with her, it was, oh my gosh, I was in tears the whole time. This was so beautiful. This is one of the best films I've ever seen. I'm so happy I got to see this, and I got to experience comics the way that you experience comics regularly. So there might be something to be said, though, about them doing such a good job that now everyone thinks this is done and wrapped up, and those, casual fans of these movies might be harder to engage now because they're not seeing, oh, well, I don't know who this Shang-Chi guy is. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, so like you, me, and Rob are like,
ooh,
Shang-Chi.
We're so pumped, yeah.
But I always use my mom as an example, but my mom is a great example. Thor Ragnarok was coming out. Mom, when I'm talking to my mom, we got to go see Thor Ragnarok. All right.
Yeah.
My mom doesn't know who Shang-Chi is. No. My mom doesn't know who Miss Marvel is.
Exactly.
My mom doesn't know this and that. And it's so that's why I came back to that analogy. I love your fire sale analogy. Everything must go. Got rid of Tony Stark. Got rid of Captain America. Spider-Man's gone. We don't got any room for Spider-Man. Throw him away. It's going to be an interesting couple of years to see how Marvel, and you know what, I'll say this too. I've been saying for a while, I think Kevin Feige could very well leave the MCU very soon because what is left for him to do? Yeah. I mean, he's done it all. He's now cumulated all of his achievements with the biggest box office film of all time. He's had films nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Still hasn't won one, and he's not about to. But still, that's great. He's had all the success in the world.
Yeah.
He might look at maybe a rebuilding phase as his next big challenge. Now it's time to rebuild the MCU and get it back to the same glory state that it was before. Who knows? Question here is, guys, what do you think about that? Are you like, you know what? To be honest, yeah, some of the buzz has died down, and it is a little bit like Saved by the Bell, the new class. But, there is hope ahead. Or are you like, no. The buzz has not diminished. The excitement is still there. The MCU is as strong right now as it was that the day Endgame came out. Where are you on all this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know what you think. All right, guys.